Okay, so I apologize in advance. We're gonna have a lot of Canucks talk on today's show. No, not Jamie Dodd and Thomas Drance or Josh Elliott Wolf or anybody else on that show. We are having our own dedicated segment to Vancouver Canucks stories because, man, look, I get it. That's not any different from how the show normally is, but still, I apologize because we're going to be doing a lot of Vancouver talk in this day, and I wanted to just brief you beforehand. So this video right here is going to be about the trade. The two trades that the Vancouver Canucks had made recently that were really big and that shook up the NHL world, because we have ourselves some very legitimate updates in regards to those trades and what assets were swapped around. So we'll do this video. We'll also talk about some other Vancouver Canucks stuff later as the day goes on. But for now, this show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel, all in the process. But today we are revisiting the JT Miller trade. Because earlier on February 1st, when the trade was made, Puckpedia went out there and posted this tweet. Special to Puckpedia, former Florida Panthers assistant GM Steve Werrier shares his thoughts on the Canucks' two trades yesterday. Read the insight provided by someone who is in a front office faced with important roster decisions. And the interesting thing about the article, which you can go out there and read, I'm not gonna dive too deep into it, but Werrier does give a little bit of caution for the Vancouver point of view. He essentially says that the first trade, Miller over to New York, was okay, but the other trade was more indicative of Vancouver management not really using their cap space all too well, and it's why they needed to add on the bad contracts they had just in the last offseason into the second trade, and that is the management trying to fix their mistakes. But then, this is where we will dive into the article here, Werrier says this. There's an argument that the best prospect changing hands in that trade wasn't Victor Mancini, whom New York included in the Miller trade, it was Melvin Fernstrom, whom Vancouver shipped to Pittsburgh. Fernstrom is an 18-year-old playing and scoring goals in Sweden's top pro league, the SHL. While his stat line, 3 goals, 5 assists, and 8 points at the time might appear modest, the real signal here is that he's good enough to be competing against grown men at such a young age. That typically means he's pretty good. The Canucks, including Fernstrom in the deal with the Pens, raises some potential organizational red flags. A few months ago, Vancouver selected Fernstrom with their first pick in the 2024 draft, the 3rd round, 93rd overall. Their amateur scouts wouldn't have used that first at-bat casually. They likely valued him highly. From my own experience, the player you select around there is typically one you internally ranked around 45 to 55 overall. There's a lot of team-by-team variance across draft boards after the first round. At this stage, Melvin Fernstrom is still a lottery ticket, but he's more like a $20 scratch-off than the $1 variety. Vancouver should be stockpiling assets like this, not shipping them out as unnecessary throw-ins to help jettison bad contracts in a deal where they're the ones already shipping out a potentially unprotected 2026 first. I don't like it, and if I was an amateur Canucks scout, I would have been banging my head pretty hard when I saw both Fernstrom and the Rangers first included in that second deal. He says here at the bottom, overall, I love the trade for Pittsburgh. They're firmly in rebuilding mode, and a contingent right to an unprotected first-round pick aligns perfectly with their greatest needs. They maximize Pettersson's asset value while picking up a potentially valuable prospect along the way, and the 2 bad Vancouver contracts won't hurt them in any way. We started this review off with a Kyle Dubas duck hook, but this deal was an ace. And that is an interesting perspective. Of course, it's from a former NHL AGM, but the reason we spoke about this article is because earlier this morning, we had ourselves another update from Steve Werrier on the JT Miller trade. He quote-tweeted the article that we had just read from February 1st and said this. 2 updates on the JT Miller trades. Trades? Plural? Okay, yeah, it was 2 trades. We'll just leave it at that. JT Miller to the Rangers and then Marcus Pettersson from Pittsburgh. First, as of right now, the first-round pick that the Vancouver Canucks acquired from the Rangers and flipped to Pittsburgh projects to slide and become an unprotected 2026 first, meaning it could become Gavin McKenna. It will surely be the highest value pick we see moved prior to that draft. Second, Vancouver has now, and had recently, Judd Brackett, great amateur scouts. That's partly why I took such issue with them throwing in 2024 third-round pick Melvin Fernstrom to Pittsburgh along with that 2026 first. Bad process. Since the trade, Melvin Fernstrom has been fire in the SHL with 8 points in his last 10 games and 4 points in his last 5. And here's the thing. I get it. There's value in what Vancouver gave up. There is a first-round pick that has Gavin McKenna's name kind of penciled in the bottom corner there. It's not exactly written on the front, but it's right there. It's present. It's a possibility. Gavin McKenna, by the way, Connor Bedard's cousin, who is torching the WHL as a draft -1 player right now. He'll be drafted in 2026. He's fantastic. First overall caliber guy by far. There's potential. And the Vancouver Canucks had a draft pick that, in some capacity, has the potential of being that Gavin McKenna pick. What are the odds that that happens? It's low, but it is there. New York could possibly fall into a lower spot in this season's standings, which would move the first-round pick to an unprotected 2026 first-round pick. And if the Rangers stink this year after being President's Trophy winners last year, imagine how they'll be next year, when JT Miller is older, when Mika Zibanejad maybe gets traded, when Adam Fox is still disappointing, when the Rangers stink it up in 2025, 2026. How bad are they going to be? Are they going to be worst in the league bad? I mean, you can't really say, which is why it's difficult to fully assess this situation with certainty as saying, yeah, Vancouver traded away a first-round pick that could become Gavin McKenna. The possibility's there, it's not high. Meanwhile, Melvin Fernstrom, the prospect that was sent over to Pittsburgh in the Marcus Pettersson deal, yes, he's doing very well. It's kind of ridiculous how good his profile looks ever since the trade went down. 8 points in 10 games certainly is not anything to scoff at for an 18-year-old in the SHL. But come on, man. Just think about what the Vancouver Canucks are right now. They're not rebuilding. They're not in a spot where they're tearing it all down. Sure, they can be retooling. Maybe Demko is out soon. Maybe Besser is out soon. Maybe Pettersson gets traded soon. Who knows? They want to keep this team competitive while Quinn Hughes is still under contract. They want to do it as a service to him to say, hey, we can commit to being a competitive team. We have these assets. We're going to flip them for things that we can use now that make our team significantly better now. Vancouver has been winning games without Quinn Hughes. They lost yesterday, but still the point remains. Trading away JT Miller, getting the center in Filipino, okay, that's probably the roster in, roster out type of move, but then that first round pick, nobody in Vancouver thought that first round pick was going to stay. We knew that they were going to trade it away for some sort of defensive help, and that's exactly what they did. They did it within the few hours of that day. And I get it, there's an argument to be made that says, oh, the Canucks didn't need to include Melvin Fernstrom if they just didn't sign the Danton Heinen and Desharnais contracts, and they didn't need to include them in the deal. Sure, but this Vancouver Canucks asset management, I think, is a lot more aggressive than what we're used to in this city, and a lot of people will find that respectable. Hey, they're being aggressive in free agency, they're getting these guys. If they don't work out, sorry, you're gone. Sorry, Daniel Sprong, you're gone. Sorry, Eric Bronstrom, you're gone. Sorry, Desharnais, you're gone. Sorry, Danton Heinen, you're gone. The fact that this management is sort of impulsive, I think provides an entertainment value that we really desperately needed in this city, and I don't want to necessarily critique it as a bad thing that they are this aggressive and they are prone to signing contracts that they're admittedly not going to be in love with months down the line. I don't think it's a bad thing per se. And Melvin Fernstrom, if he becomes the next Wayne Gretzky, sure, we can talk about him being a potential Vancouver Canucks what-if story 20 years from now. But for what the Vancouver Canucks are in 2024, 2025, they don't need Melvin Fernstrom. They need Jonathan Lekkerimäki to step up and be an NHL player now. They need Tom Willander from BU to come over and be a top 4 doorstop, somebody that allows the rest of this decor to kind of catch their breath and function properly. They don't need Melvin Fernstrom's prospect potential for what 2027 is going to bring. So trade that guy away, get an asset that can help you today, and commit to Quinn Hughes and being a winning team today. That's what the team did. I get that there are updates that you could say, yeah, the pick is looking really good for Pittsburgh. They could get the first overall caliber guy. I mean, the odds of that happening are less than maybe 7%. Is it decently high? Yeah, okay, but still, that was not going to help Vancouver right now. Nor was Melvin Fernstrom, not for what they're trying to build. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this JT Miller trade update, how things are looking since the deal has gone down. We haven't even spoken about the Vancouver assets. Philip Hedl, Drew O'Connor, Marcus Pettersson, they've been fine. pretty good players. Not JT Miller caliber, but still good. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the JT Miller conversation here, and whether or not you think this actually is something that's worth talking about. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.